I think this is my first reading vlog that I've ever done, or at least the first one that I've ever posted.
1, 2, 3, let's switch this up.
Good morning. Today I'm going to be starting my reading vlog, my Valentine's Day themed reading vlog. So I'm gonna try to get through 2 books in this vlog. The first book that I'm going to be starting with is the Valentine's Hate. I actually just randomly came across this book in the bookstore. I had never heard of it, never seen anybody talk about it, don't fully know what it is about, but it says it's the Jennifer Lopez Marry Me movie meets Aaron Sterling's The XX. I read The XX, haven't seen Marry Me, but I love J-Lo, so you had me at Jennifer Lopez. It says Cupid only strikes once. At least that's what Lisette Alonso believes. Ever since the most disastrous Valentine's Day of all time, she has hated all things V-Day. But Lizzie's best friend is having prenuptial festivities for a week leading up to her February 14th wedding. And Lisette is taking her maid of honor duties seriously, maybe too seriously. Who is the first person she runs into on the way to the wedding? None other than her childhood nemesis, Brian Anderson, the reason for all of her Valentine's Day related hatred. Now the two are back under the same roof, bickering like old times, except that Brian has bigger problems in dealing with Lizzie's verbal sparring. Someone Brian is desperate to avoid shows up, and somehow Lizzie gets roped into pretending to be dating him. Then suddenly the simmering anger blossoms into something extra spicy. So I'm assuming it says enemies to lovers, it says fake engagement. So yeah, I think this will be fun to kick off my Valentine's reading vlog. So we're gonna start with this. I'm going to turn on some ambient background sounds or whatever, and I'm just gonna kick it and see how far I can get.
Hey. Trips that you plan for the next whole week. Bands too long for me. So cheap being flex OD, sex OD. You got it, girl, you got it. Hey. You got it, girl, you got it. Yeah. Pretty little thing, you got a bag and now you calling. You just took it off the line, no mileage. Way they hitting you, the DM looking violent. Talking while you come around and now they silent. Blew the Cooper 17, no bodies. You be staying low, but you know what the price is. They ain't never got you knowing being modest.
So it is much later in the day now. I think when I first started this vlog, it was around 11 something in the morning. And now it's like 7 o'clock at night. So I got to page 70, and then I had, well, throughout the day I got to page 70, but also throughout the day I had like errands and stuff to run. So I am finally back home, like I'm in for the night. I've gotten up to page 70, which I think is like the beginning of chapter 4. This book so far, I don't dislike it, but there's also nothing about it that's like, oh my gosh, like it's sucking you in, like oh my gosh you have to read this. Like it's very basic, simple. The writing style is also very like simple, and she's gotten to the location, like to the destination, and something I think there was like a flood or something at the hotel, so she didn't have a room. But conveniently her arch nemesis from like her childhood is also staying at the same resort for a completely different event. And he has this huge room that has two, like he has like a suite, so it has 2 bedrooms in it. And so long story short, he offers her the 2nd bedroom if she will agree to like fake date him or whatever. So that's where we got to so far. Plus her ex just showed up as part of, he's not part of the wedding party, but he's there, he's going to the wedding. So seeing her ex there is like super awkward. So yeah, I'm hoping that it gets messy just for the sake of entertainment. So I will continue to update you guys as I go through the story.
You know you poppin', yeah. You got it, girl, you got it. Hey. You got it, girl, you got it.
Good morning. It is the next day, and I got up to so far chapter 6. So page 118 is how far that I've gotten. So we're going to continue reading. I'm gonna do some reading sprints, maybe in like a half an hour, a little less than a half an hour. So we're gonna see how much reading I can get done doing these reading sprints, to see if these reading sprints like help me finish the rest of this book. I'm almost done. Like, I don't have much left. So I just finished chapter 6. The spice has definitely been introduced. It felt a little rushed. I mean, I guess I should have expected that or anticipated that, just because the book itself isn't but so long. So I guess things kind of have to be rushed. Like, you don't really have time to develop or like ease into things. So like, it was just very like abrupt. Like, you definitely knew it was about to happen before it happened. Like, you already knew where it was going. It was very obvious. But yeah, that was quite the scene. I'm not really sure where this story is going, because I feel like this is more like Friends with Benefits than Enemies to Lovers. It's like enemies to friends with benefits. So I don't know if maybe in the next like 100 pages it's going to develop again from friends with benefits to lovers. Again, everything is just escalating very quickly. Now I'm on chapter 7, where I'm about to start chapter 7, so we'll see where this goes from here. I don't think I've said this already, but this book is dual POV, and it switches POVs like within chapters. Like, I'm used to reading books where like one chapter will be this person's POV and the next chapter will be somebody else's POV or whatever. But in this book, like within the chapters, they'll be like switching back and forth between POVs. They're like marked. So like here it says Lizzie, so like, you know that like starting there, like now it's Lizzie's POV. But I just wanted to mention that. But even though it's dual POV, it's also written in third person. So if that matters, I know that some people are like very anti third person narrators. But what I really came on here to say was that I think it's cool that the male character Brian, he is an author, and he is at the resort because he has he's doing like a book tour or a signing or whatever, because his novel, like, he has like a whole like fantasy series. I think it's like a fantasy sci-fi series or something, and it's being adapted into a movie. The scene that I'm reading right now, he's meeting with like, I don't know if it's the producers or like his publishers or whoever, but he's meeting with people. And so like, he's written this whole series. It's like, I don't know how many books is in this series. The fans are like shipping, I guess, some of the characters in the book, and he won't write it, you know, where these two characters like finally get together or whatever. And so now that the book is being adapted, his publishers are like, okay, in the next book that you write, you need to write these two characters, like they need to finally get together, because that's what people want to read. People like romance, people like sex. And he's like, I don't feel like that's right, like I don't want to do this, because he doesn't really want to write romance. He was only really writing it in the first place because it was helping him to sell the book. But now like his publishers and or editors or whoever, they're like pressuring him, because they're like, this is what the people want, and we need people to want to buy your next book, because then that'll help like promote the movie, and then the studio will then buy the franchise. I guess for now the studio has only agreed to like do his first book or whatever, but they want the studio to agree to do the entire franchise, so making like multiple movies or whatever. And he's very like, no thank you. So I just thought that was really interesting. You're reading a book about a book that's being adapted into a movie. It's just cool. I just thought I'd mention that, that's all. Okay, so it was a couple of days later. I did finish the Valentine hate, and I'm not sure what I would rate it just yet. I literally just finished it earlier today. I don't know what I would rate it just yet. Probably I'm gonna say like 3 stars. Like it was very average. It was very like just, you know, it was fine. It wasn't like anything like, oh my gosh, like that was beautiful, that was wonderful, or that was so relatable, or I don't know. It was just fine. I would say if you're looking for like a short Valentine's Day read with a little bit of spice in it, then, you know, definitely like check this out. But I would say that if you haven't read this, like you're not missing anything. I would say like you don't need to go out of your way to like read this. Like it was fine. Like I enjoyed it for what it was, but there was nothing wrong with it. It just wasn't anything exceptional about it either, if that makes sense. But it's a short read. It was cute, you know, it gave you the Valentine's, you know, vibes and feels. Like it was a cute story. The ending was a little underwhelming, I will say that. I think that this book probably should have had an epilogue. I was a little disappointed, like the way it ended, it's like, okay, that's it. Like we don't get to know, like I don't know, I just feel like there should have been more at the end. I don't know. Yeah, 3 stars. 3 stars for this one. But now I'm going to start reading the next book, which is The Do-Over by Lynn Painter, and I am so excited to read this. I have been wanting to read this since I found out about this, like before it even came out. I think this book came out in November of last year, and I wanted to read it then, but I had like a bunch of other books that I was already planning to read, so this didn't make the cut at that time. Plus this book, I believe, is like a Groundhog Day, where it's like she's repeating the same day over and over again, and the day that she's repeating is Valentine's Day, so I figured it would be better to just read it in February anyway. So very excited to read this book. I've heard good things about, you know, other works by the same author, and the fact that if you know me, you know that I love the whole like repeating day thing. Like I love that. I'm obsessed with that. So there's a lot of hope, there's a lot of expectation. The bar is set pretty high in my mind. I hope that this book does not disappoint. I think that her boyfriend like breaks up with her on Valentine's Day, and she has to keep reliving that day over and over again. So I think this will be really fun. I'm really looking forward to this. And then I have sprints in a couple of minutes, so I'm gonna hop on to sprints, and this is what I'm going to be reading.
Hello. How did your reading excursion go?
I got through the first chapter, so I'm up to page 20. I had to stop to like do some other stuff, but I'm liking this so far.
There you go. It's a good start, right?
Yeah. So far in this book, I have read the prologue and the first chapter, and I'm already really liking it, which worries me sometimes when I go into a book and I'm already like really enjoying it like right off the back. Sometimes I get a little worried because I'm like, does that mean that it's gonna go downhill from here? I do really like this so far because I think that it's funny. I have laughed out loud multiple times just reading the prologue in the first chapter, so I'm hoping that if things continue this way, this could be like a 4, 4.5, 5-star read. Who knows? Hello. It is the next day, and I have made it to, I'm like in the middle of chapter 11, and I wanted to just quickly hop on here to say a couple of things. One, I am thoroughly enjoying this story so far, like really enjoying it. It is giving me everything that I hoped it would give me. Now granted, I'm like not even 50% of the way in yet, so there's still time. Who knows what could happen between now and the end, but so far so good. Like honestly, so good. I'm very happy with my reading experience, like with this book. But also, I think I said in the beginning of this that she, like her boyfriend like breaks up with her over and over again. That is not what happens. Her boyfriend does not break up with her. She actually catches him cheating on her over and over again, which is not a spoiler because it's literally in like the synopsis. I just forgot that. I got it mixed up. I thought he broke up with her, but no, he cheated on her, which is worse almost. But yeah, so I was wrong about that. I wanted to clarify that. But also, she has gotten to the point in the story where she's repeated the day so many times that she is like, she like doesn't care anymore. Like she's tried so many My hair just got caught in my fingernail. But she's gotten to the point where she has tried so many different things, like to make, first of all, to make the day stop repeating, but also like trying to get things to go the way she wants them to go. Like obviously she doesn't want her boyfriend to cheat on her, so she's trying to like stop that from happening. And then there's also other things that go wrong that she's trying to like prevent from happening. So she has tried so many different things, so many different ways to stop all these things from happening and get the day to go the way she wants to go. And at this point she's like, you know what, like F it, like I don't care, I'm gonna just do whatever I want, because tomorrow I'm gonna wake up and the day's gonna be reset and nobody's gonna remember anything anyway. And my fear is that she is not going to repeat this day anymore. She's going to wake up after all of this and it's going to be like the next day, it's going to be February 15th, the day after Valentine's Day, and she's going to have to deal with all of the consequences of what she's done. I hope for her sake that doesn't happen, but it kind of would make for a very entertaining story. So I just wanted to hop on and say like that's how far I've gotten. She's like in the middle of doing all her like wow girl stuff. Like I'm here for it. I'm all about it. But we'll see how this plays out.
That made me laugh.
Wow, this book was so good. This book was everything that I hoped it would be. It was everything that I needed it to be. Like this, I'm torn between giving this like 4.75 versus like 5 stars, only because it's so early in the year. Like I don't know what else I'm going to read that like might top this, and I hate having to like go back and like readjust my scores later. But right now, this feels like a 5 star. This book was funny. This book, like all the callbacks, I love when they do callbacks, especially like in rom-coms. Like I love when they do callbacks and they like refer to like things that were said earlier in the movie or in the book or whatever. I love that this book did that a lot, not just because it was repeating day, but like it was like very like well timed, where he would like say something that she said to him earlier or like vice versa. Like they did that a lot, which I love. I would love for this to get adapted. Like if this got turned into a movie, I would be the first one buying tickets. I would be the first one in the theater. I like the way that they did the repeating day. At first I was kind of like annoyed, because when I think of like repeating day, I think of like literally like everything is exactly the same. You know what's going to happen before it happens, and you're trying to convince everybody that you're not crazy and that you have lived this day before. That is not what happens in this story at all. It is repeating day, and there are things that like happen, but she does have some influence on the day where she can do certain things that will like change the outcome. So not the exact same thing is happening every day. It kind of like kept you on your toes. It wasn't like, you know, redundant. It wasn't like overly repetitive, even though it was the repeating day. There was enough like differences throughout the days where it kept you like engaged, and you weren't like, okay, like can we just get to the part where like something happens? Like there's always something happening. This book is so fast paced and it's just so freaking cute. And I have to say, this book met all, if not exceeded, my expectations. Like I don't think I have read a rom-com that has been this enjoyable of an experience to read. Like I had so much fun reading this book. So I thank you for sticking with me through this reading vlog. I think this is my first reading vlog that I've ever done, or at least the first one that I've ever posted. So thank you so much if you made it this far into the video. As always, my socials will be linked down below. If you have any recommendations, leave those down below in the comments. Like, subscribe if you are not already subscribed, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. I had been waiting to read this book. This is the, whoops.